All right, good evening, everyone. Good afternoon. We are going to begin our pre-meeting. Mr. Trott is going to lead us in a discussion about a high school pedestrian crossing. So I'll let you have the floor.
All right, thank you. A few items to go over tonight. This is a follow-up from the retreat. Brought up an issue of a bunch of folks crossing I-115 around North Meck High School, and discussion was look into it some more, so we've looked into it some more and come back to you with some options and things to discuss. At the end of it, we look for a straw poll just to kind of get some direction on next steps from here, but really wanted to tonight come through and present some information on what we've looked into so far. So just to recap of where we are, so on the southern end of town on NC 115 or Old Statesville Road, you have North Meck High School on the west side of the street. You have a gas station, Bojangles, McDonald's, Walmart, big parking area on the east side. Then to the south, you have Alexandrina and Eastfield. So completed a pedestrian count, thanks to planning for helping us out with this, but completed a count for just one day in November. And what we found for that was roughly 100 students or so, or 100 folks across the street, kind of in that time right before school starts or right around the time that the high school starts. So a lot of folks were crossing from the retail area over to the school. Excuse me. There were around 50 or so folks that crossed over the next 4 hours. So you see the first time period, there was only 30 minutes. You had about 100. Next 4 hours, about half of that. Then once school got out, that time after school gets out, had a lot of folks crossing the street, probably more so from the school over to the other side of the street. So what we've done is we talked with NCDOT about it. In general, they're okay with allowing a enhanced pedestrian crossing in that location. They said kind of pending what we came up with. So this is kind of that next step of here's some ideas. So we looked at some different options. Let me go back to this slide just to point out the pink area is kind of where all the people cross the street, but it was mainly focused in that northern end, kind of where that light blue box is. So they kind of crossed anywhere around there for whatever various reasons, whether they were going to a specific place or maybe that's where they found a gap in traffic. Don't know exactly why they picked where they did, but those numbers of folks that were crossing generally within that pink box there, but more specifically focused in that blue box there, kind of closer to the school entrance. And that's really where we focused when we started looking at options. And so we looked at 3 different options, which I'm going to share with you next, and for location. And what we did is we shared those locations with NCDOT, the high school principal, and also the police, and just to get some feedback on preference. That's all, just to see what they thought would be a good idea. So 3 locations we looked at are shown here. Top location in no particular order, just numbered them so we could point to them if we wanted to go back to them. But top location number 1 is straight across from that school entrance exit point. That's on the northern end, kind of in that northern blue area of what I was showing you before. Some pros to having a crossing in that location are it's right at the front door of the school. It wouldn't be hard to find for folks leaving the school. Traffic conflicts would probably be, I'd say, at its lowest because you really only have 2 lanes you're crossing in either direction, and there's not a lot of driveway conflicts either right there. So those are pros. Con maybe you have to do some modification on the school site itself. You have to take out some shrubs, maybe lose a parking space or 2, modify some pedestrian ramps there to make sure that crossing gets you straight into the school. You may not have as big of a room to queue up. You may be standing in the driveway if you get a whole bunch of people trying to cross all at one time. So there's some pros and cons to that one. Location number 2 is kind of in between. You see it's in between the driveway for the school and in between Precinct Street, which is the street there that goes into the roundabout in the development. This is generally the middle area of where folks are crossing today. That's a pro. I think we could get the stop lines for where folks would have to stop to let students cross, kind of right between the driveway or right at those driveway lines. So right where you see the pedestrian ramps there from the school and then also from the street, that's where people would stop. If you're looking right, coming out of there and you're looking at traffic approaching, you wouldn't be looking at that. So that may be a negative, but I think that's a good location. And the number 2 location is what engineering staff's recommending. It was the top choice for the police department when we asked their feedback on 1, 2, or 3. It was their top choice. And also the school principal also indicated that was their top choice out of the 3 as well. The third location is the one to the south. It's the furthest away from the school entrance, but it's also close to where the folks are probably trying to go when they do cross the street today. Gets you the closest to the gas station and the restaurants and Walmart. If that's where they're going, that puts you out right there on the other side. Whereas number 1, coming right out the school entrance and you're right there. This is you walk down, you cross the street, then you're right there where you're trying to go. If you do cross there, you'll have an extra lane to cross. There's a right turn lane into Precinct Street, so the crossing would be a little bit longer. I'll say the third location is the one that NCDOT preferred. They indicated that was their preference as it was closer. There's a couple of CATS, Charlotte Area Transit bus stops a little bit south right here. This is the closest of those. And also, you don't have to cross Precinct Street, the minor street there that has a stop sign. You wouldn't have to cross that if the crossing was here and you were going from the school, to or from those businesses. So those are the 3 locations, again, kind of focused in that blue area where most folks were crossing from before, where we looked at. And that's the feedback we got from the police, NCDOT, and the school. Are there any questions I can try to answer about looking at the locations so far?
Just a couple of things. As a frequent user of that car wash there, I know I take a right coming off of, and I can't even say the name of that street, but
Precinct Street, yeah.
yeah, and I'm looking left at the traffic coming, and then I'm dodging out there. I don't know. It seems to me like sight or the third sight's a little bit better. If regardless of which one, at the medium, are we planning on, because there's grass there, so obviously you're going to stripe the streets and put up some lights. Are we going to concrete that in or do something like that?
Yes, yeah, there would have to be, kind of think of it as a pedestrian pass-through. You'd put, concrete there. And also probably put a push button out there as well in case somebody didn't make it all the way across. Don't want them to get stranded out there in the middle. So one of the options is to have a push button out there, in case somebody does get trapped out there, to be able to hit the button, to be able to continue across the street.
Okay, so related to the push buttons, again, makes no difference which location. Mm-hmm. So they press the button and 4 lanes of traffic stop, correct?
Yeah, so the signal would flash to give people warning that it's going to turn on, because when nobody pushes the button, it's dark. There's nothing flashing. There's no green, there's no yellow, no red. It's just dark. So when someone activates the button, it'll start flashing to let people know, hey, you're going to have to stop soon. Like at a traffic signal, you get the yellow before you get the red. It doesn't go straight from green to red. So it'll flash to tell you, hey, it's coming up. You're going to have to stop. Then it stops to let folks cross. And then it'll flash again to kind of let you know, hey, this is going to be ending soon. And then it'll turn off. And you can time it so that there's a waiting period between. So if somebody presses it and they cross, you want to give a gap so the traffic can go, so that it's not a constant press. So that's a detail we'd have to work out with the state on how long they'd want that gap, and also if they want it tied into the traffic signal that's 800-900 feet to the south. Maybe it only comes on during certain times or certain phases of that signal. That's a detail we'll have to work out with them.
Do you remember, and maybe you don't, the I forget what it is, 275, 85 kids or whatever it was, cross? What period of time is that? Within 15 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour?
So I guess going back to this slide, when we looked at the count, this is just a count, again, about a half hour in the morning around when school started was the number. Much more sporadic between when school started and, lunchtime. And then a larger group of folks came out kind of right after school got out. Don't have a more detailed breakdown other than what we have right here.
Okay, thank you.
We don't have a final design yet, right, on the design of the school, so this could potentially be temporary.
Yeah, so North Meck High School is, as you may have heard, is looking to do, a replacement school there. What they've indicated is they're going to build a whole new school and leave the current school open, and then when the new school's done, then tear down the existing school. We don't know exactly where that would be, but it wouldn't be in the same location. So it could be in the future. A crossing in this location may or may not be the right location, depending on where that new school is. Timing, what the school's indicated is, in one of the meetings we've had with them so far, just to talk in general, is it's a little over a 2-year time frame to actually build the school. And then so even before that, they'll have to design it, get permits, then go build it. So it may be, just a guess, 3 or 4 years from now before a new school's open. But don't have any more specific timing. We don't have a plan that's been submitted yet for what they want to exactly do.
Okay, thank you. Just in regards to those 3 options and figuring out which one we might be more in favor of, do you know now, let's say we go with option 2 or 1, do you know now if folks, I don't know the name of the street that goes into the plaza here, but do you know if there's an issue with kids that cross and then don't go all the way to the crosswalk and cross earlier than?
On, I guess, between 2 and 3 is Precinct Street that goes into the Walmart development. Is that
Yeah,
what you're talking
that's what I'm talking about. Do you know if there's like a flurry of kids that are taking up that street too in the afternoon? Not sure, yeah, sorry.
Not sure exactly. I think they kind of disperse out from there. We didn't go out there and watch to see exactly where folks go. If they go to the restaurants, if they get a ride from somebody, are they going to Walmart? Or is a parent picking them up?
Okay, thank you.
Not sure what they do.
Commissioner Bergsman?
Well, I can speak a little bit to what Commissioner Dumas was asking before my comment, since I am a parent of a North Meck student, so I am in the vicinity of this little intersection most days out of the week. And then also one of my comments that I will have for the option 3, but there's a lot of parents that pick up in the parking lot, so I'll usually see them cross and then kind of go down to that other roundabout because they're heading into one of the parking areas where they'll get picked up. So it's either like be picked up by parents or going to like the Bojangles, McDonald's, gas station. And you'll see that more with the afternoon as well because kids who are staying for after-school clubs, and I think that's probably why there was such that longer period in the afternoon. Like they might pop over for, something before or after a club. The comment I had with option number 3, and I personally, I love number 2. And just, being there, I feel like it's the most aligned with what the most number of students are already doing, and its proximity to the front door, and also the fact that if that's what you had said that that's what HPD recommends as well.
Police department and the school, and also engineering recommend location number 2. The state recommended location number 3. I'd say if there was a second choice, then the school and police said number 3 would be their second choice. They had to kind of pick an order.
Yeah. With number 3, the ones that I feel like I see the most often are students at the end of the day coming from the trailer classrooms, which hopefully in a couple of years that's not going to be present. So, yeah, I just, personally, I love the number 2.
I guess my only concern is that they're with two, which I totally agree that getting people like to follow their general flow of traffic right now makes sense, and I think that two does make sense, but I worry about the other street that they're crossing if they're not using that crosswalk at the circle. Can I ask you, do you see kids walking the sidewalk and going to the circle to cross at the crosswalk, or do you see them flooding the street there?
I've never really seen a flood, but I do see both behaviors. I see some that go down to the crosswalk and some that will just cross there. But is it possible, like if number 2 is what's chosen, or honestly, I guess if any of these are chosen, can a painted, like the painted line crosswalk go across that section as well?
Yeah, we could mark a crosswalk, and if we did a project out here, we'd recommend marking that crosswalk, because especially if you use 1 or 2, you're kind of directing people to cross that intersection, so it makes sense to mark that crosswalk at the same time.
We're getting a kind of a straw poll on,
See, I've got 3 other options.
oh, we have 3 other options. We're ready to go.
This is kind of part 1. So there's 3 options on locations, and then also have 3 options on different types of poles to put in for the Hawk type signals. So option 1 is kind of your basic just wood utility pole. This is think of this as your kind of entry model. This is kind of the bare minimum that you'd want to do. Just be utility poles like every other wood utility pole. Span across, have guy wires. Pros, cons of this, it's the cheapest of the 3 options I'm going to show, but you need a little more easement area because of the guy wires to hold up the poles. So you need, pro is cheaper, but you may need a little more property or easement area if there's not available, which we're still trying to work to confirm. The next option gets more expensive. It's metal strain poles. So this looks similar to what the last one is, except there's no guy wires. Instead of guy wires, there's concrete foundations instead. So less property, but more expensive, more lead time on the poles. This option may be $75,000 more than the wood pole one. And then if you want to go more on the top end, use mast arms. You don't have any wires or any spans out there. This is nice and clean looking, but it is most expensive of the options. This will be probably $50,000 or so more than the last option that I showed you. So you're really stepping up in price. There are this is a representative graphic, but it's pretty truthful in that there's already overhead utility lines on both sides of the road already in this location. So put nice poles in, but there's still wires and stuff spanning all over the place out here, regardless of what you do. So our recommendation would be really to go with option 1. 1 is the cheaper option, but 2, you don't know where that new school is exactly going to go and what that pattern's going to be once that new school goes in. So do you want to put a bunch of money into an option to know you may have to come back and take it out? You can't really move these. Once you put them in, that's really it for where you go. So there's 9 options. There's 3 locations and then 3 pole types. So you wanted to get, again, a straw poll on, was there a particular pole type option or a particular location option, that would be preferable, so that we can look at some numbers, and then if the board so chooses, come back later with a budget amendment to move forward with one, if that's what you would like. I have one last image, and this just gives you a perspective of, what, say if number 2 was your crossing, and that's where it went in, that gives you just a perspective on, it's a little bit down the street, before you get the traffic signal, 800-900 feet-ish, in that ballpark range. Again, just showing you some visuals to give you a feel for what it could look like. I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Okay, so numbers. I know you said the first option is the cheaper option. Do we have an estimate, or has there been any specifics in numbers or price? in regards to
So-
this project?
Sure, that's a great question. So an option like this, design, construction, I'd say probably best case, maybe 200,000 on the low end. If you wanted to go with, a more expensive option, this could be twice as much for that. So just to give you a ballpark. And as far as time frame, it'll depend on right-of-way acquisition. That's an unknown. If we don't need any of that, then we could go quicker. When you do get into the strain poles or the mast arm poles, that's something that's specifically fabricated for this specific location. So we're seeing, anywhere between 4 and 6 months fabrication time on those. Don't specifically know until you hit the order button. That's when you find out how long it is, but those are generally time frames. So could be that you save some time on right-of-way, but then you end up needing it for the fabrication. So
I go back to that overhead, like topo shot. No, the other one with the newer one. Go the other way. There you go. At that corner there that's going on to Praising, is that how you say it? Is that sidewalked there already? Okay, it is, okay.
yeah, there's currently sidewalk on both sides of the road. Actually, the town put in the sidewalk on the school side, several years back, and then the development put sidewalk on the other side of the street up and down 115.
All right, that's what I had. So the straw poll has to be on location.
Be great to have a straw poll on location, and then maybe another one on.
And poll type. All right.
Narrow that in.
All right, so I'm going to throw out there a straw poll on location 2, which was the recommended by our engineers. Everybody kind of nod and say yes if you're in with option 2. All right, very good. Now poll type is the discussion, I guess, maybe. Poll 1 is the cheaper version and more readily, I guess, relocatable, I guess, in the future if that time comes, right? Is that what I'm understanding?
I don't know if it'd be relocatable.
I made that word up.
It'd be cheaper to go in.
Cheaper to go to modify if we had to, and cheaper to go in, okay. So if you're down with poll number 1 option, nod your head.
Can I ask a question first?
Yes.
Before that. With poll number 1, is there the possibility to also save on cost with tying into the electrical poles if the energy company would
Yeah, that's
agree to
possible.
something like that?
Yeah, that's possible, and actually, we're asking both of the, and it's 2 different utility companies. Electricity's is on one side of the street and Duke's on the other. So we've reached out to both to see what the possibilities are, to see if that could work or not. Yes, it's an option we're going to explore, yes.
All right, any other questions on poll type number 1? All right, nod, raise your hand if you're in on that one. All right, so it looks like we have our answer. Thank you very much, we appreciate it. We really want to make sure that we are not having any children getting hit by cars at this place, and I don't think they're going to stop crossing the road if no matter what kind of education we try to do, so we appreciate this work. Thank you. We have about 6 minutes, and then we'll start our regular meeting.
Thank you.